Hey, so today I wanted to talk about something, but the thing about this, whatever it is that I want to talk about, is that I have almost like an idea of what I wanted to talk about, but it's almost like I don't know what I want to talk about, really. I don't know. That just sounds fucking batshit. This sounds like nothing, but sometimes I have like things that like I want to talk about, right? But like I don't really know what to say, or maybe even just like, or maybe like I feel like I have something to say, right? Like I feel like there's something I want to talk about, or something I feel I need to talk about, and then I just, I don't really know what it is myself, but I feel like there's something, right? So I don't really know what this is, but this is just me, I guess, talking about what it is I at least think what it is I want to talk about, because I just don't know. And in a way, I think I don't know if I wanted to talk about the idea of like like escaping reality type shit, like kind of in a way, but not really that exactly, right? Because some people like to have certain things that help them escape reality, but not just like momentary escape, more of just like a people who refuse to acknowledge reality type thing, like uh like burying themselves in a world that they created, or just I don't know, anything like that, really. Because like people can like try to argue, be like, oh, people try to escape reality with video games, but video games, while immersive, eventually you have to put it down, so you can't constantly be immersed. Like eventually, and not to mention, even when you're playing a video game, your brain is going to be free enough to just constantly think of just fuck shit, and just make you kind of ground back in reality while you're playing a game, just thinking like, damn, I'm really just part of this shit. And it's weird, but like I like the thing is, like I said, this is one of those few times where I have like something I want to talk about, or I feel like I have something I want to talk about. Like I have an idea of almost what I want to talk about, but I almost don't know if I know exactly what it is that I want to say in specific, or even if my brain can even fucking function enough to describe what it is that I want to talk about, if I even want to talk about something. Because at this point, like, I don't fucking know what my brain does anymore. Sometimes my brain just does things, and sometimes it's like, hey, this would be a good thing to talk about. And then I start the video up, and I'm like, okay, so what am I going to talk about? And then it's like, I don't fucking know. I just kind of felt like there was something I needed to talk about. And for some reason, it has something to do with like the reality escapism thing. And the fact that people are capable of creating worlds in their brain enough to be almost a form of escapism, where they can just completely hide in their own mind. And I keep using the same person as like an example for some things, because because like I said, I was watching I watch a lot of like drama, I watch a lot of like documentaries on like rise and fall things, and I watch like some documentaries on like long-standing people on the internet who have maybe had it a bit rough, and then it kind of ended bad. And like I always use this person as like my jumping off point, because they're just an interesting person. Even they're also a bad person, but they're just an interesting person altogether. And that person is Chris Chan. I've talked about Chris Chan many times, but I use Chris Chan as a lot of jumping off points, because there's so much about like Chris Chan's life that I can like gain some form of like topic about, right? Like his his slash her, because Chris Chan eventually turned to a woman. So like I'm saying his because I was thinking about Chris Chan in the past. Like Chris Chan used to be like crazy about love. Like he had a love quest. He originally he wanted to find a single girl, and that was it. That he just wanted to find a single non-smoking white girl. And like I always talk about this stuff, and when I was thinking about like this kind of thing again, I was thinking about like the idea of escapism, like reality escapism, where he eventually she created a world. Like Christian created their own world that they hid themselves in. They changed the narrative of every aspect of their reality, and they used this world to basically make themselves the hero regardless of whether they were in the wrong or not. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people escape reality, or well, you can't escape reality. It's not physically fucking possible unless you die. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you fucking don't, because we still don't know. There can be more. There can be an afterlife. We can reincarnate. Who fucking knows? Like we none of us know. So like I mean I guess I can't really say that, but like it's always just like weird. Like just kind of like escaping reality in any kind of way. And I think the reason I was thinking about this is because and like, it's almost like this is the point where I was thinking about, like, how would I really explain what I'm thinking? Because it's a bit weird where I am a person who thinks a lot. And I don't mean like thinks in like a smart way, right? Like, I'm not like saying like, oh, I'm some big fucking genius and I'm constantly thinking. I'm like a fucking computer, man. I'm like I have all the codes in the world. I'm gonna fucking I know the nuclear launch codes, like shit like that, right? No, like, no. I'm just an idiot. But my brain is constantly active, but not active in a way that's fucking helpful to me, like ever. But I have very active imagination, an imagination where like I said, with like some people, they use that as a way of escapism. They escape their idea of reality by immersing themselves into a world where they are the main character, where they're the hero, they're the one who changes everything. They're like they can relive a scenario in their head and it can go their way. It can be good, you know, like if they get into a fight with someone and they stutter through like a comeback and they're like, well, I mean, your mom, I mean, your mom, and then the person's like, haha, you stuttered, and then they lose that fucking like exchange. They can go back in their head and be like, oh yeah, well, in my mind, I'm the hero, and I said that your mom is a less than reputable person or something like that. I don't fucking know. And a lot of people like escape into this like little world in their active imaginations where it's usually about them. It's about change. Like it's never really like anything specific other than just like changing their reality. It's escaping the reality that they have in exchange for basically a falsehood where they'd rather accept it as more of their reality because it more plays into what they would want and what they could never really get from reality. And you know, it's obviously not a good thing, right? It's not a good thing to like escape or try to escape reality. Like you kind of have to face it regardless of anything, from like any kind of problem you deal in life or any of that kind of shit. You kind of just have to face reality, whether you even if you don't want to, even if reality has just been nothing but a shit show and it's the worst shit ever, and god, you just can't take this fucking reality anymore. Unfortunately, like, there's nothing really anyone can do. There's only one reality, well, as far as we fucking know, unless there's other dimensions, which I think like science at some point is probably going to prove there's other dimensions, so there's probably more than one reality. But I mean, in our dimension, if there are other dimensions, which there probably will be, but the reality of this is that we just have this reality. But we a lot of times create our own little worlds where we're the hero, we're the good guy. Things go our way, right? But in my mind, I always think about that. How some people can easily use their mind to escape. But I've kind of noticed that my mind is repulsed by the idea of me even being thought about. And what I mean is the idea of my brain thinking about me disgusts me. Like, I am disgusted seeing myself. Like, I don't know. And it could just be like, oh, because the brain is like the center of all of like our lives. So like it could just be like, oh, my fucking brain doesn't like the exterior that it was given, right? It's basically just like, hey, what fucking look were you born with, like wrapped around your brain, and then your brain looks at it and is like, oh man, this is what I got wrapped around my fucking insides. Well, that's shit. Can I get a new one? But I always think about it, and my brain is repulsed by me, so much so that I could never do that. I could never escape reality by living in my own little fantasy about myself being a hero or any of that kind of shit, because my brain just was so disgusted by me, to the point where my brain doesn't even want to think of me, because it just, I find myself so fucking disgusting and abhorrent that I just don't want to think about myself, like, at all. Like, the most I think about myself by name, by characteristics, but I don't really ever picture myself in my mind, even though I know what I look like. And if I could, I probably could just easily see myself. And when I was younger, I definitely did have times where I thought about myself, but it wasn't like scenarios where I came out looking good. It wasn't a scenario where I turned the tables, right? It was never anything like that, like where I fixed a problem, I did something good. It was always, when I thought about myself, it was always in a negative light of, well, this could have been worse, and here's how, as well as just creating like scenarios for myself about how shit is just going to be worse for me. So my brain resents me, even though I am my brain. Me speaking right now, I am brain. I am big brain. I'm not actually, I'm not big brain. It's pretty fucking small. Or, well, it's probably just average size, because brains are usually average size. And the idea of big and small brain, I'm pretty sure if you have a big brain or a small brain, that's actually bad. But like, that's just medical bullshit, whatever. I mean, it's not bullshit, it's factual, but I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm basically just verbally shit posting because I'm an idiot. But my brain resents me a lot. So much so that my brain will never picture me ever having like any kind of like positive interaction in my life, nor can my brain ever make me look back at a situation that happened and make me look better in a situation. I've never been able to like escape reality in the sense of making myself the hero, or just maybe just picturing, well, what if I fixed the situation? What if this situation had went in my favor? Because I've had plenty of times where I've been bullied, and I was like, oh, like, there's like those times where you're just like, that would be like the time when you think to yourself, like, oh, what would it be like if I fought back? But for me, I just think like, oh, okay, so here's what could have happened. And then it would just be like a picture of them like actually breaking my fucking bones. And that's what I mean. My brain is absolutely repulsed by the idea of me. But I don't have escapism from reality in that specific way. But like I said, I do have active imagination. And I've talked about in the past that one thing I enjoy doing is I enjoy creating characters. I enjoy just creating characters and giving like them like a little world to live in, and almost like acting as if these characters actually fucking exist, because I'm fucking stupid and deranged. But the reality is, it's all fake, obviously. I'm not, like I said, I understand reality. I'm not I'm not detached from it as much as it may seem that sometimes I am. I'm not. I understand reality. I understand that thoughts in your head are just thoughts in your head. They don't mean shit. But for the longest time, my imagination never wanted to think about me. Instead, it just created stories, it created characters, it created lives. Lives that, at the end of the day, will never be known about nor cared about. Characters and stories and worlds that fade into obscurity over years. New ones take place, and none of it really matters, because it's all just thoughts inside of the head of a rotted, decrepit, completely fucking destroyed brain. And it's kind of just depressing, because in a way, these things that I think up, these things that my active imagination creates, and that I feel as if I give life to in my own mind, all mean a lot to me, because I don't have anything to really care about. I don't have anything to really look forward to in life, or to really like think like, damn, I'm proud of this, or I'm happy with this. And these little characters in this world that I create in my head is one of the only things that I kind of care about. And it's just but I can't use it to escape because one, I understand reality a little too much to fucking just try and pretend like it doesn't exist. But at the same time, my brain hates me. Like my brain is repulsed by the idea of me. My brain does not want to see me. I try to avoid looking in a mirror because I'm just so fucking disgusted with myself. And I know people, like, whenever you talk about how much you hate yourself, people are like, Jesus Christ, what did you do? Like, people then kind of take it as, like, oh, you must have committed, like, horrible atrocities. You must be, like, a really bad person if you see yourself as, like, this disgusting. And at the end of the day, no, I haven't really done anything that I could consider, like, horrible. But I just don't like myself. I've never liked myself. I hate myself, as a matter of fact. And my brain is just repulsed by the idea of ever seeing me, to the point where I could never use my own brain to escape reality and just try and create my own little life in my head where it's all just a fantasy for me, where I'm actually happy, you know. Oh man, guys, look at this. I have friends. I have a girlfriend. I'm doing so good for myself. Oh man, guys, I'm just doing great, right? Like I can't do it. I can't picture it because my brain resents me too much, which makes no sense because I am my brain, which means my brain just hates itself. But that's just how humanity works. That's just how a human fucking body works. It's not some fucking anomaly. It's not some deep fucking spiritual bullshit. It's just some basic science that we're all just a fucking brain covered in meat. And then that brain will just decide it hates itself. It's just weird, right? But I don't know. And obviously, I know like I don't want to talk about the stuff I create, right? Because I'm gonna be honest. To me, I love it. Like all the stuff that I think up and the active imagination shit that I love to create, the characters that I create. I love every single character that I fucking make, and I love all these little stories and the fun shit that goes on. But at the end of the day, I could never tell anyone about any of this shit. I can tell people about that it exists, but I will never tell anyone anything specific. Because to me, I see the things I create as just absolute fucking cringe. Right? Now, it's not on like like it's not like Sonichu level of bad, right? Like it's not that bad. But to me, every time I ever create something, which I don't create a lot of things, these things that I make in my spare time are one of the few things I create. And because I'm the one who made it, I immediately see it as cringe bullshit that shouldn't be seen. So I don't want to tell people about it. I'll tell people it exists in my mind, but I'll never tell people that anything. I'll never tell anything specific. I'll never say a name. I'll never say even their fucking hair color. I'll never tell a story. And it kind of sucks. Because in a way, all this stuff that I create is almost like I create it with the hope that someday I can make it into something, you know? Like I can make my own fucking thing where like these characters have more of something, and that even if no one cares about it, the fact that I put it out there to show that this thing that I was just had stuck in my brain, this thing that was just a bunch of fucking weird colorful characters running around in my brain, would suddenly just be this thing that people could actually see with their own fucking eyes. But it's obviously never going to happen because I'm fucking stupid. But yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about trying to escape reality in your own mind and how I could never do it, and the little fantasies that I create in my brain to, I don't know, try to placate myself, try to pretend like maybe there's something more, you know, maybe there's just like a little bit of something happier in the future, where you create these like happy little characters, these happy little lives, and it's such a fun little story. Oh, what the character's going to do next? What's going to happen next? Oh, it's a lot of fun. But it doesn't mean anything to anyone other than me. And like I said, I'll never talk about it because it's just cringe. Like it's not even like it's not funny, it's not interesting, it's not entertaining, it's just pure cringe. Because shocker, something I create is bad. Who'd have thought? But I have fun with it, and it's basically just a fantasy in a dying brain, rotting brain. I don't know what else to fucking call it. Like, it's just that. It's just fun stories for me, fantasies, and nothing really extra. Like, I don't really think of anything based in reality. Everything is just based around fucking just whatever the hell comes to my fucking mind, and I just love creating characters because to me it's just a fun thing to do. So, like I said, I started this, I didn't really know what I wanted to say. I didn't really know what I wanted to talk about, and I didn't really know where I wanted any of this to go. Which is why I just started the video, and I hoped that maybe if I rambled enough, something coherent would be created, and maybe there'd be something. Just anything. But yeah, I guess the takeaway, or the shortened version of what I'm trying to say, is that I love to create characters, and I create characters in my head, and I create little stories, and I just basically love the things I create, but I could never create anything bigger than a thought. And unfortunately, anything I think of is probably going to stay a thought until I'm dead. And then once I'm dead, it's gone forever. Because once you die, your thoughts are gone. Or, well, even if your thoughts don't go when you die, like if you go to like some afterlife and then you still have your thoughts, unfortunately, no one's going to see your fucking thoughts because you in the real world are dead and you're now a fucking spirit doing other shit. And so no one can ever know of your thoughts because you're fucking dead. But yeah, I don't know. And like I said, I'll never talk about it because I just don't see it as a good thing. I just see it as this thing that's only good for me. It's only something that I enjoy, only something that matters to me, and just telling it to other people is basically the equivalent of Chris Chan drawing Sonichu. Because the second I start like talking about this little fantasy world I have, these little characters I love creating, this world I loved creating, the second I talk about it, it's immediately the fucking Sonichu shit. It's immediately like, hey guys, look at my fucking cringy fucking bullshit. Hey guys, look at me. I'm a fucking loser who spends his time thinking about things because I just, I can't cope with reality. I can't cope with being alive. So I create this little fantasy world in my head of fun little characters. And then I can describe each one and have them, picked apart one by one as I'm told that they look too similar to something, or wow, it sounds one dimensional, or wow, you're very uncreative, and blah 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 and bullshit. It's just one of those things where I just don't want to talk about it because it's one of those things that I know is shit, I know is cringe, and I know is terrible. So I keep it to myself because it's something that makes me happy, and it's one of the few things in my life that I actually care about. And so the second I open up this fucking world to anyone else is the second that I basically shoot myself in the fucking foot. I'm not pulling a Chris Chan. I'm not. I'm not fucking showing everyone my Sonichu right now. Okay, and I'm that one's a joke. It's not actually Sonichu. I'm just gonna reiterate that. Like I was like like he showed Sonichu, and this is like a cringe thing that I've made in my life. So if I showed it, it would be like my version of Sonichu because it would be a shitty cringe fest. But at the same time, my shit isn't like ripped off because his shit was ripped off of both Pikachu and Sonic. So his thing was like actually like a rip off thing. And whatever. My point being is I don't want to show this shit and I don't want to talk about it in depth because I just hate myself and I hate my creations so much. But that's the thing. I don't hate my creations. I hate myself, and that's just about it. So the idea that I created something, even if I love it myself, I see it as something that if I were to express to anyone else, it would just be immediately riddled with just shit. And it would be one thing if it was riddled with shit in just like a normal internet criticism way, but this is more of like opening myself up to basically being on the path of being a lol cow on the internet, or basically just having people be like, "Oh, so this guy's a fucking loser." And it's just one of those weird things where I just kind of think of it and I'm just like, I don't want to. I just want to enjoy this thing for myself because the second I open it to other people, I'm basically just turning into Chris Chan, and I don't want to be fucking Chris Chan. I want to be me. I don't. I mean, who am I kidding? I'm already kind of like Chris Chan, a shut-in who's way too old, active imagination, and people in my family keep calling me autistic, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. But apparently, people in my family think so for some fucking reason. I don't know why. And maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Unless a doctor tells me, I'm not saying it. Like, I'm not one of those self diagnosing people. I'm not going to say it just because others say it or because I think it. A doctor has to tell me. But this is a weird talk. Ranting about becoming Chris Chan. Though, if I do become anything like Chris Chan, I will say for one thing, I will definitely not commit incest like he or slash she did. I will not actually do any of that shit. I will not break the law on purpose, on purpose, because you never know. Like I might like walk outside, trip, fall headfirst into someone's like car windshield, and then I get like sued for like damage of property or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm. It's almost like I just feel like I'm like I don't know, with like how I act and like the fact that some of my videos are just like meltdowns and just like emotional rants, and the fact that I myself am a fucking like way too old shut in who has accomplished nothing in life, and I have this little fantasy world that I created myself. It sounds too much like too many stories I've heard on the internet, to the point where it makes me think that maybe my life is just going to end up like theirs. And obviously not the same ending, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna do any of that shit. But I don't see my story really having a happy ending. But I'm gonna at least say that the chances of it ending with me in jail are very low, because I'm very scared person of breaking the law, so I don't think I have to worry about that. But yeah, I don't know. I just really care about this thing that I've created for myself, and I just don't want to express it to anyone. And even to my cousin, I've told him about the stuff I've done. I've talked about some characters to him only because because he's the only person I trust. And but I know like the second like I tell him about any shit that I've thought up or anything I like, I know like the second I like tell him about my world, that he's like, oh yeah, yeah. And then the second he's not around me, he's like, God, what a fucking loser. And I'm sure he tells all his friends that I'm the fucking loser of the family, and like it's obvious that he probably thinks that I'm mentally 5 years old. And it's kind of obvious when I talk to him about like things I like, that he's like, "Oh yeah. Oh, good boy." Pat on the head type shit. Like I'm like it's obvious. Like I still trust him, and I understand it's all a lie. Like I understand that he just sees me as like some fucking like infantilized idiot, because he just sees me as just basically a child that is just worthless. Like I get it. I know how he sees me. And but at the end of the day, the fact that he's at least taking the time to at least pretend like I'm not a fucking complete failure is at least nice enough. So I guess. But he's the only person I've ever talked about the little fantasy world and the shit that I've created myself, because I trust him enough. And even though I know he makes fun of me behind my back, I don't care, because I don't know. I just don't. I trust him enough to the point where I don't care that he makes fun of me, or even if he does, or whether he does or not, I don't know. But at the end of the day, if he does, I still don't care, because I still trust him, and that's about it. But yeah, I'm not gonna publicly shoot myself in the foot by basically entering lolcow territory by officially declaring my weird, stupid creations that everyone would shit on, and would basically realize that it's a weak point that they could exploit so that they could attack me emotionally. And then I'd be that guy that basically people would just drag into internet calls and attack and be fucking crazy about, and just be like, hey man, you better fucking do this thing for us, or else we're just gonna fucking destroy your fucking life, because we now know your weakness. And it's like, I'm just not doing it. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna shoot myself in the foot like this. So yeah, I created a fantasy. a little fantasy, a little world, a little thing that I love. But it's not as, unfortunately for me, it doesn't help me escape reality because I realize reality is too real for me to escape. And I'll never understand how people are capable of just dreaming away reality in their life. It's fucking crazy. But yeah, I don't know. Just me talking about this. I don't really know what this was, so yeah.